Okay, good. Well, dude, it's nice to meet you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Drake. Nice to meet you, brother.
Hey, before we really get in, I do want to ask just so I am clear, is your name pronounced Ivan or Ivan?
Ivan is fine. I mean, Ivan is in my native Bulgarian language, but Ivan, everybody calls me Ivan, so Ivan is good.
Ivan is how you're is
In originally, yes, but in the United States, Ivan is how you say it, so you can just call me Ivan. That's fine.
you want me to call you Ivan?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, dude, I am really excited to meet you because I've heard about you from Eric Teese and Justin Honey and Dennis Kimsey and the work that you're doing. So I'm excited to talk with you and interview you for the podcast. I think
Thank you. I'm excited too, my friend. Thank you.
it's going to be awesome. I'm kind of going to jump right into it if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I want to kind of start with your boyhood and your growing up years, Ivan. Tell me a little bit about kind of where you grew up and how you grew up, and give us a little bit of the backstory on your life.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Bulgaria. I grew up in a small town called Stambolijski. And when growing up, I was into sports. I was training a lot. I was into a lot of physical activities, a lot of kickboxing, wrestling, different sports, and just grew up in a medium income family. Obviously, it was during the communism, so times that were a little bit tough back in the day. But I was blessed to always be provided for. My family is really caring for me. My father, my mother, and I just grew up in Bulgaria in my
Are those
18
sports that
years.
you mentioned, like the kind of combat sports, are those popular in those communist countries back when you were growing up? Is that something like a lot of boys did?
Yes, anything that has to do with combat sports and weightlifting, like for example, wrestling, boxing, they were very popular. As a matter of fact, a lot of schools had them in their school curriculum. So you pretty much had to pick a sport growing up during high school. And I picked up different sports. I also trained, by the way, soccer as well. And I was just a very active kid. So those kind of sports were just part of the culture back then. And it was pretty much mandatory to train something.
Every boy had to train in a sport like that.
Yes, yes, because you had to pass certain exams when you were in high school. And if you couldn't pass them, like let's say a certain amount of push-ups, certain amount of body weight squats, etc. And if you can't pass them, then you'll have a hard time going to the next class.
That's interesting. I know back in the day, the states used to have those sorts of things. I don't know that they actually have those anymore, even if physical education requirements or even still exist in public schools. But I think that's pretty neat that you guys had that physical test that you guys all went through. Did you do well in those tests as a boy?
I was honestly mediocre. I wasn't exceptional at all, but I was just like very persistent and consistent with training overall. So my scores were not like amazing, but I was able obviously to pass through the grades and just graduate. But it's all about really just working hard, and it doesn't matter, you will
Yeah.
get better. So it's about hard work.
That's awesome. So you're growing up in Bulgaria. Tell me about like your later high school years and your young man years. How long did you stay in Bulgaria? When did you move to the States? What was that transition like?
Yeah, I grew up in Bulgaria and I pretty much graduated there, high school. And then afterwards, I actually went to Germany where I spent close to 2 years. I studied in Bulgaria in a school that prioritizes languages, specifically German language. And once I graduated from there, then I moved to Germany to continue my education. I mean, growing up in Bulgaria in my high school years, the times were really amazing. It was before social media, so it had to do with gathering with friends and playing sports and just doing a lot of outdoors activities, socializing a lot. And then afterwards, once I graduated, then I decided I want to go to Germany where I studied marketing for 2 years. And it was a great experience because obviously you're going to a different country at 19 years of age and you're meeting new people alone there and it was unbelievable, right? So but my high school years and overall my childhood was absolutely amazing. I mean, it's just something that I would always cherish.
Yeah, and then after Germany, did you come to the States or did you go back to Bulgaria or what was your life like at that season?
Yeah, so after Germany, I studied in Germany for 2 years. Then I continued my education back in Bulgaria, where I stayed up until I was 23 years of age. And in Bulgaria, I was involved in different jobs. I was working different jobs. I was working also as a bouncer at one point during the summer. And then eventually I decided, as part of my education, to come to the United States for a certain amount of time, for like 90 days on a student visa. And that's what I did. I came to the United States back in 2012. And ever since, I stayed here.
That's awesome. So, when did you get into the fitness world? Because that's really what I want to have a conversation with you about today. You run this project, Spartan Dad Project. I saw in your Instagram bio you help dads become better leaders by helping them lose weight in 90 days, I think is what your bio says. I also know that you help guys build muscle as well. So, when did your interest in fitness and nutrition and all of this really start taking shape and then develop into the professional side of things?
Pretty much, I was involved with fitness my whole life on the personal level training. But once I graduated from high school and I went to Germany and studied marketing, then afterwards there was a transitional period where I was like, okay, what I really want to do with my life. I mean, what is my purpose, so to speak, my God given purpose, and what are my talents? What
Mm.
actually do I enjoy doing? And the thing that I enjoy the most is really training, any kind of martial arts, and obviously training overall, like running, lifting weights, you name it. And I was like, okay, I mean, that's something that I can get higher expertise in, and I can help more people. But it wasn't until my father passed away in 2015 where I actually really started focusing on coaching that specifically. Up until that point, I was helping people overall get in shape. I was managing a CrossFit gym. I graduated as a strength and conditioning specialist here in the United States, with a specific of nutrition as well and fat loss. And I was coaching pretty much anybody in a CrossFit facility gym. But then in 2015, after my father passed away, is when I really started developing the Spartan Dad Project, and I decided to focus specifically on that.
What is the Spartan Dad Project, and why did you choose the symbolism or the imagery of the Spartans as well? I'm interested in that.
The reason I chose it really is about Spartan, because Spartans resemble discipline.
Mm.
And if you read about history, it's not about their numbers, it's about their work ethic and the discipline that they have. I mean, they were the most elite military unit back in ancient history. And that's something that I really like. I really think that discipline is the ingredient that can help you accomplish anything in life, anything that is humanly possible by the grace of God. And I developed a lifestyle program that focuses on building that discipline by developing the right habits in terms of training and nutrition. Because I truly believe that your spirit, your mind, and your body are all connected. And you got to focus on developing all three of them. And obviously, the faith comes first, but then with the faith, all that discipline has to be resembled in all other areas of your life, health and fitness included. So I developed that program. It's a mentorship that I have. Is divided into different levels. Level one could be anywhere from 3 months up to 6 months, and it's called the Fat Loss Accelerator, where the main objective is just helping dads get lean and get rid of the excessive body fat. And then from there, we start prioritizing more building muscle, recovering their metabolic rate, and more performance-based training, where everything becomes a little bit more advanced depending on the individual. But again, the main objective really is about building discipline. That is the key, because if they build discipline, then their whole life is going to improve, not just their health, but everything. And that is my wish for them.
So, why did you decide to work with dads or men specifically?
Because ever since I moved to the United States, I interact with a lot of dads, and I see the stress they're under. It's a consistent stress to provide, to lead, to be there for their families. There's a lot of concerns that they have. They go through a lot, obviously, bills and finances, and just being on top of their families, leading the right way. And when my father passed away because of health issues in 2015, I was like, okay, I can continue training everybody, but my desire is really to focus on that, because I believe that I can create a system that works for them, is sustainable, and over time will help them develop the right habits. And that was the driving force for the whole program that I developed, the passing of my father, because I don't want that to happen to anybody. And when you think about it, you don't really see many overweight people in their 60s and their 70s. The reason for that is because overweight people don't live that long. And now is the time for people to really start taking care of their health. And fathers are the ones who need to lead the family unit in their health and fitness journey in every area. So they have to be the one who actually lead it by example. And by doing that, I believe society will change for the better.
Yeah. I, Ivan, did your father pass away with health related issues? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, my father, he passed away March 10th, 2015 from a heart attack.
Hmm.
He was into drinking, he was into smoking cigarettes and eating very unhealthy. Well, the irony is that he was a former athlete himself. He was training boxing and different sports as a young kid. But then over time, because of stress and different issues, he kind of deviated from that path. And despite the fact that he wasn't overweight at all, he just had a lot of unhealthy habits that crippled him over time. And I always say those unhealthy habits, at the moment, you might not pay the price, but eventually they will catch up to you, and you will pay the price regardless. So you got to address the issue now. So that was the pivotal moment where I decided, okay, I want to coach that, because I don't want anybody to lose their loved ones, or the fathers and brothers or whatever. So this is what I did. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome that you have this mission, because one of the things I really believe to be true is at the center of reality there is a father, meaning God the Father, and in the center of our earthly realities for children there should be their father, who is the earthly representation of our heavenly Father. And I think the work you're doing of helping men not just lose fat and gain muscle, but to become more disciplined, to become better leaders, is something that will benefit the families as well. Not just the men who go through your program, but their wives and their children and whomever they serve in the work capacities that they have. So I appreciate that you're doing this. It's really something special. How does the program work? You mentioned you have the first one, which is the Fat Loss Accelerator, right? That's 3 months or so.
Yes. So the first level is called the Fat Loss Accelerator, and depending on the person and his starting point, it could be from 3 to 6 months. So let's say if a person has a lot of weight to lose, 50 plus pounds, that's not going to be achieved in 3 months. So the level one is going to be 6 months for them. If the person has 10, 15 pounds, for example, to lose, that most likely will be accomplished in 3 months. So level one is a Fat Loss Accelerator, where we set up the foundational habits that the person must adopt in order to make a permanent transformation. And then the more the person progresses through the program, the better results he gets, the better habits he starts to adopt. By the time 6 months kicks in, or 3 months, you have visible results and you see that that person is becoming a whole different version of himself. Then once we accomplish that, once we lose the fat, then we transition into the second level.
And I can tell that people have results because you share a lot of results on your social media pages of guys who've gone through, I'm guessing maybe the first 3 months, 6 months, or whatever. And it's very impressive what guys are able to do in their time with you. Um, I'm curious, most of the guys who are coming to you, is there a typical, like, I'm assuming that it's a range of guys in different walks of life and different ages, but are there some common denominators that you notice with guys who are coming to you to do the Spartan Dad Project? Maybe certain themes or characteristics of these men?
Yes, definitely. There's some common traits. Usually, the guys who come to me are guys who are doing pretty well in life by the grace of God. Overall, they have, let's say, a great career. They have a happy family. Everything is going good for them to an extent, but their health and fitness is suffering. They have put their health and fitness on the back seat for a while, and they really want to change that. Sometimes I will have dads who go through, let's say, a divorce or something, a personal trauma, and they want to channel that energy and that anger into getting in better shape. But overall, mostly the people who come to me, first of all, they're dads, majority of them. In terms of age, I would say mostly are over 30 years of age, most of them. And as I said, they're pretty successful in many areas of their lives. It's just their health and fitness is the last element that needs to improve, and this is what we do.
Hmm. And how do people get connected with you to do the Spartan Dad Project? Is it through social media? Do you have a website? How can people get in contact with you for this?
Yeah, I do have a website. However, I really focus on social media because I can engage with them. It's
Mhm.
it's more engaging to an extent because we can have a conversation. We can hop on a Zoom call if we need to, and really see what the person is trying to accomplish, whether we're going to be a good fit. I don't believe in forcing people to do anything. I don't believe in pushing them to sign up. I'm definitely not that type of person that will try to convince you for an hour for you to sign up, because I believe that if you are truly committed, you have a high level of commitment, you would want to do better. And if we can be a good fit to work with one another, then obviously we can get great results going on. But usually through social media, Facebook is the main channel that I engage with people. And we have conversation, we can hop on Zoom call, then we can see whether we can work together. And if we do, then we move forward.
I like it. So you said you studied marketing when you were in Germany. I'm very curious because I've seen on your social media pages you'll share before and after results from guys who have gone through the program. And a lot of those are shirtless guys who have a little bit of fat around their waist and stuff. And then you'll see their after photo and they got a six pack now. Is that some of your best marketing material out there, or is it word of mouth, or how are guys kind of compelled to come to you to work with you on this project?
Social proof is definitely the most compelling one, because if I post pictures of myself, that doesn't mean anything,
Hmm.
right? People want to see what I can do for them. The whole program is about others, it's not about me. So I have to make sure that when people see the results that we're providing, that they can get similar results to the people that actually see, and the program actually works. So social proof to me is number one. And also showcasing guys that it's about sustainability, it's about developing the right habits, and it's about just having a system that works for them. Because at the end of the day, what works for somebody else may not work for them. Every person is unique. Every person has unique lifestyle, responsibilities, time. So we have to see what works for that specific person. And there's no better way of doing that by providing social proof that people who are in the similar shoes like them are able to get results.
Hmm. Okay, so Ivan, if I come to you and I say, "Hey, I'm Drake. I'm 30 years old. I want to lose like 20 pounds." What's our progress, or what's our process to start making progress? How will I work with you? Do we do Zoom meetings? Do we just text message? What's that process like if I become a client of yours?
So if you were to become a client, the process is pretty simple. You will be registering in a platform that I have, where I will be in charge of your whole schedule. Pretty much, I will organize your habits, I'll organize your training, I'll organize your nutrition. Everything will be based on your capability and level. We will have to go through a quick evaluation before you even sign up, in terms of your experience level, whether you have any injuries, etc., food allergies, and so on. And then we're going to develop a plan that works for you. You will be a member of that platform that comes with also application. And in that platform, we're going to be in constant communication 24/7. You will have a chat form which will be connected to my phone, so we can communicate on a consistent basis. Every week there will be an evaluation that you have to complete, an evaluation assessment. And based on that assessment, I will review your progress and I'll give you instructions for the following week. But it's all about just consistency of the habits we're going to set in place, and repetition. And when you do that, then yeah, you will be successful.
So this is tailored to each individual man going through your program.
Yes, it is.
The diet and the exercise and all that, you tailor it to the individual. And it sounds like you're going through what other habits other than diet and exercise are you working with guys on? Or are those the primary things?
The number one will be sleep, making sure that they get enough sleep. So we have to see what their capabilities are, because obviously some people work overnight. Some people just work insane hours. They have to wake up early. They work all day. So we have to see how we can maximize that. Maybe they can take naps. Maybe we can offer some supplementation. They can improve the quality of their sleep. But number one will be sleep. Number two will be stress management. Because if you're very, very stressed, your cortisol level goes up, and that can deplete your energy expenditure, which means you might be training every day and eating the right foods and still not losing anything because your stress is too high, right? So sleep, stress management, there will come nutrition, there will come training, and there will come also your activity outside of the gym, which is very important.
Okay. That's interesting. So you're really involved in every aspect of the guy's life during this program.
Yes, yes. The goal really is to have all moving pieces together. And if they do, if they are moving together, all the moving pieces, then you will see how the progress just happens, right? You see the guys progressing week after week. Obviously, you're going to face some challenges. Some certain weeks, you're not going to lose anything. We have to keep making adjustments, but you can see the bigger picture, how the person is progressing. So we're trying to address all the moving pieces, because again, I'm not interested in the guy losing, let's say 20, 30 pounds and then gaining the weight back after 6 months. I'm interested in whoever works with me to stay fit forever. That is the goal.
So, Ivan, I know because of the social proof you've already shared on your social media pages that there are guys who go through this program and it works for them and they keep the weight off and they're building muscle that is good muscle. For guys who have maybe gone through the program and have not done as well or have just stopped doing it, what are some of the common holdups or hangups or things that cause guys to fail if they go through this and maybe they just are don't complete it or they go through it and then they gain the weight back? What are some of the things that are hanging guys up like that?
Well, if people are not successful in my program, that would be my fault because
Hmm.
that would mean that they were not ready to work with a coach to begin with. I always say I don't think every person is ready to work with a coach. It requires being coachable. It requires humility. It requires following instructions. It requires execution. It requires not having any excuses. Or if you do have legitimate reasons not to do what you have to do, then you have to communicate that to me so we can find a solution. But I believe not everyone is coachable, and sometimes I make a mistake in my desire to help people to enroll guys into my program who were not very coachable to begin with, who gave me a lot of red flags. So that kind of person most likely will not finish the program, right? And if that happens, it kind of sucks because I want that person to be successful. But at the same time, if you don't follow my instructions, or at least if you don't communicate with me why you're not following the instructions so we can find a solution, then you're not going to be successful, right? I always say that humility is the key to success because you have to be able to follow instructions and execute. I've worked with coaches. I followed everything they told me to the teeth, right? Because I didn't want to have any excuse to say why didn't I succeed. So that is the number one reason. But if people complete the whole program, there's no way they're not going to get results. If they follow all the instructions, are honest with me, keep an open communication, have a humble attitude about the process, then there's no way you can fail. It's quite impossible.
Hmm. I appreciate that perspective. I didn't expect you to say if somebody's fails, it was on you as a coach. I appreciate you
Oh,
saying.
100%, because again, it's like I'll give you an example as dating, right? Like when you date somebody, um, there could be a lot of red flags that women give to guys and vice versa. But people, because they act based on their emotions, they ignore those flags. And then they get into relationships and the relationship fails. And then they say, well, how did this happen? Well, it happened because there were a lot of red flags along the way, but you chose to ignore those red flags because you were overly emotional. So it's the same thing with coaching. Some people will give you a lot of red flags right from the beginning, and it's my responsibility to say, no, you're not going to be a good fit, and that's it. And I've done that actually. I've fired clients in the past who wanted to pay me, but I didn't see the level of commitment to be reasonable, and because of that, I decided not to work with them.
What are some of the red flags that you notice or it'll say, no, this is not going to be a good fit for us?
Well, number one is poor communication. Like if you're not willing to communicate to me in a timely manner, then we're not going to be successful because everything in life is based on communication, right? Relationships are based on communication. Work is based on communication. Work between client and coach is based on communication. I have to know everything that is happening. So if you're unwilling to communicate to me in a timely manner, then most likely we're not going to be successful. The second thing it will be probably adherence and just coming up with cheap excuses. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a difference between reasons, legitimate reasons, and an excuse. But if you come up with me with like a really really silly excuses all the time, and you're not willing to take ownership, then it's not going to work out because you have to take ownership of your actions. At the end of the day, we're the byproduct of our choices. So if you're overweight, it's because you've made poor choices along the way. So if you want to change that, you got to start making better choices.
Right, absolutely. Now, what's your ideal client that you're looking for? We talked about the red flags right there for a moment. Who is this program for? Like, if you could put a little bit of a label on who this program is best for, who would you say?
It's for clients who have a humble attitude and are willing to learn. Because at the end of the day, if I go to a coach, let's say in certain area of my life and I want to improve there, I would want to listen and execute the instructions. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't question, right? It's good to have some questions along the way and to ask questions and to be curious about the process, but you have to be able to execute. That is the number one thing. And people who think they know it all, in my experience, they tend to not execute really well. And they become very defensive when you have that conversation about that. So it's really about guys who have humble attitude and they really, really want to improve. They really desire, they have a mission to be healthy for their families, for themselves. Because again, a man with a mission will never quit.
Yeah. So, Ivan, I know because of my friends Eric Teese and Justin Honey and Dennis Kimsey, we go to the same church and they're all part of the Spartan Dad Project, that you are a man of faith. I see this over your social media pages as well. You've already made mentions of God's grace and stuff like that in our conversation today. I would love to know kind of your testimony. How did you come to the faith? Were you raised in a Christian home? Did you come to faith later? Tell me a little bit about your faith story.
I was raised in a Christian Orthodox family. My grandmother used to read me verses from the Bible and chapters from the Bible since I was a little kid. And I always believed that God exists, but I was not born again. My faith was superficial at the beginning because I knew that God exists, but then I wouldn't live the way God requires us to live. My fruit would not be a good fruit, so to speak. Uh, However, I always knew that God exists because, I mean, the evidence of God is everywhere around us. Every creation has a creator, and just the complexity and the beauty of all the creation that we see signifies that there's a God. Now, fast forward later, 2016, I met a pastor from Canada, Pastor David Lynn. I started watching his videos. He's a street preacher as well, and over time, I just felt convicted of my sin, and it was a mind blowing experience. I repented and I realized that that I'm a sinner. I'm in need of a savior, and only Jesus Christ could be my savior. They can save me from my own self and my sin. And ever since, it's been a journey of sanctification, walking in the faith. Obviously, once you're born again, you're not sinless, but you will sin less. You will fight with your sin by the grace of God. The Holy Spirit will convict you, and just your overall life uh, will go to a different direction. You'll be slowly becoming more transformed in your life, and this what happened to me. I mean, it was an amazing experience by the grace of God, and it's something that I wish more than anything to everybody. I mean, somebody is not the Christian faith. I truly pray that that person comes to the knowledge of Jesus Christ, because there's nothing better than knowing Jesus Christ.
Amen. What role does faith play in the Spartan Dad Project for you?
It's the number one thing. I mean, faith is everything, because faith will produce certain works. As Apostle James says, that faith without works is dead. So faith will lead to acting in a certain way. And I truly believe, because of everything that I've seen the transformational power of God in my own life, that nothing is impossible with God. Like absolutely nothing. With God, you can accomplish anything and beyond, because that will bring glory to God. So anything that you do, you have to do it to the glory of God. And that is the most important thing. So everything that I do with the guys I work with is really help them build discipline so God could be glorified. Obviously, I do have guys who are not in the Christian faith, right? I pray that one day they become part of it. But everything that has to do with faith, because if you don't believe that something is possible for you, that the transformation is possible, that it's possible for you to get healthy, that it's possible for you to be more productive, to live a different life, then you're not going to take action. You're going to be crippled by fear. But God gives us supernatural faith. The way Abraham was ready to sacrifice his son, the same way we're going to step out of a comfort zone, and we'll be able to take action and accomplish great things to the glory of God.
Yeah, amen. I'm appreciative of how much your faith plays a role in the work that you do, especially when it comes to helping dads become better leaders and find health and fitness. Ivan, I'm very curious. Um, when, right now there's a lot of, I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase "Make America Healthy Again" and all the stuff that's the rhetoric that's been going on. When you compare like your upbringing in Bulgaria and even maybe your time in Germany to what you see happening in the United States, is there a pretty big difference between maybe the quality of foods or just the health culture in general between these different countries?
There is a difference. I can definitely testify for it. I believe that the food in Bulgaria specifically is healthier to an extent because everything is farm raised. So,
Hmm.
for example, when you go to stores, there's like a lot of control there over the food, and everything is natural, so to speak. No preservatives, no GMOs. In the United States, they have healthy options as well, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But those healthy options, I don't think they're being promoted the way they should. Plus, there's a lot of politics here behind the food industry, the FDA, pharma, big pharma, right? So I believe that hopefully this whole slogan, "Make America Healthy Again," will be successful. But again, I believe that everything starts with taking personal responsibility, because we cannot blame, right, the big pharma and the food industry and McDonald's and like fast food chains and all that for being obese, because at the end of the day, nobody's forcing you to eat the way you eat. That is a personal responsibility that you have to take, right? But generally speaking, yes, I do believe that the food in Europe and Bulgaria specifically is healthier to an extent, more natural compared to the food here.
And when you grew up under communism, did you have quite a uh, limited options when it came to the food, or was it plentiful of what you could choose maybe at the market or those sorts of things?
No, the food was pretty limited. It's we didn't have any chains, big chains like the way it is here in the States. So the food was pretty limited. There were lines for bread. I mean, there were times that I would just eat cheese and bread for breakfast with some pepper, right? So food was limited. Then obviously, when I started growing up, the communism fell apart, and they were introduced like other chains in Bulgaria, like Metro, for example, a big European chain. So things changed over time. But when I was a kid growing up, then yeah, the food was pretty limited. We didn't have the healthy food options that we have right now, and the varieties of foods. This is what is amazing about the United States. We have abundance of foods here. We have abundance of options. Yet for some reason, the United States is quite unhealthy overall, which is a paradox, right? We have everything. We have more than we need to, yet we're unhealthy, right? So that is a paradox. That's something that we have to really think about.
And you would say that's because of the lack of personal responsibility that people are possessing?
I believe so. I mean, listen, I don't want to, obviously attack anybody. People go through a lot of things, and you can't really tell why a person is acting the way they act. But I believe it has to do with your upbringing as well. So there's a study out there that suggests that obese parents most likely will have obese kids, not only because they transfer their genes on their kids, but also they teach their kids the same habits that they have,
Hmm.
and it becomes a vicious cycle. Correct. So it takes personal responsibility to acknowledge that and doing better and changing that cycle. I believe that has to do with it. Now, it doesn't help, obviously, the fact that there's a lot of fast food chains, that our food cannot be trusted in the grocery stores, that the FDA promotes certain foods that they shouldn't promote, etc. But at the end of the day, it's our job to do our due diligence, research, and do better, right? Because nobody's forcing people to eat the way they eat. That's a personal choice.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, speaking of kids, I have two boys, and a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we have a daughter as well who's about 5 months old. And I obviously you just mentioned that kids learn stuff from their parents, not only what's passed on them genetically, but also just the habits and traits that they will pass on. I'm a dad, I'm a young dad with young boys, and I want to help them grow in healthy ways physically. What are some things I should be doing right now with my 4-year-old and my 3-year-old, and then maybe my daughter as well, if it applies to her, to help them grow up strong and healthy and form good habits and good discipline, even from their young years?
For me, number one will be to enroll them in some sort of martial arts class. I would recommend Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or wrestling, because it's you don't get hits in the head. I believe that was going to help them a lot, because learning how to deal with adversity from a young age will build mental toughness and will build discipline. And then by leading by example yourself, by introducing healthier food options, explaining them the importance of eating, let's say, high protein diet, fruits and vegetables according to their needs and their age, that's going to be very beneficial. But I personally would recommend, I personally think that every kid should be training martial arts, because of the level of discipline that gives you, self control, also humility, understanding that you're going to meet people who are stronger than you, you're going to meet people who are better than you, and that's a fact. And you're going to be able to deal with that and learn through adversity. So that was something that I highly would recommend if you're able to do that.
No, yeah, we definitely are. What my 4-year-old does is actually taken some jujitsu classes
That's
before.
amazing.
Yeah, he there's days that he loves it and days that he is says no. The instructor that works with the little kids at the jujitsu gym, he goes to our church as well, and so he's Mr. Randy has always been a good voice for those boys, and he has several little buddies from church who go out there too. So he has been a hot and cold on it. Sometimes he really likes it, and sometimes he's like, I don't know about this, you know. It's when those big kids get out there that he gets a little nervous, and they don't ever, you know, wrestle him or anything like that, but he's timid. So, dude, I've actually thought about doing jujitsu myself. And to be honest with you, there's a little bit of a fear of, uh, well, I guess you mentioned it earlier. Humility is key, and I guess I don't have the humility in me right now to go out there because I know that there's going to be guys who are maybe older than me. Maybe I'm physically with weights stronger than, but they're probably gonna make me tap because they know some moves and stuff. So maybe I should just get over myself and get out there with them and roll with them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's tapping doesn't mean that's the thing. Tapping doesn't mean failure. It means that you're learning.
Mm.
I mean, tapping is just part of the process. I've been tapped thousands of times, million times. You get tapped by smaller guys, you get tapped by bigger guys. It doesn't matter. The key is just continuing showing up and just getting better and learning throughout the process because you're the one who's going to improve, right? So I don't believe in failure by default. I believe that you're learning and just getting better. And jiu-jitsu it's a wonderful tool because it just teaches you a lot of qualities. I think it teaches you humility the most because let's say if you're very athletic and you go there, you find out that athleticism alone doesn't really contribute to much success in jiu-jitsu unless you have the skill to back that up. So you're going to be learning a lot, and I definitely recommend you. You know, it's an amazing sport. It's fantastic.
Yeah, dude, I wrestled I wrestled in junior high, and I think the thing that bothered me most about wrestling was the singlet. I hated wearing that singlet, that skin tight spandex, you know. I felt like I was going out there wrestling another guy in women's bathing wear. I like the jujitsu you get to wear like a bathrobe. What's that called? A gi?
Yeah, the gi, you can do gi, no gi. Yeah.
Yeah, no gi. I'm guessing because you mentioned having been tapped 1,000 times or whatever that you do jujitsu.
Yeah, I do jujitsu. It's a wonderful experience, man, because again, like you can tap, but then you continue showing up, you keep training. You should not let somebody tapping you get to your head. It's just part of your process. Obviously, you want to have that healthy ego to one extent of wanting to improve and going hard when you need to go hard, but understand that at the end of the day, everybody who shows up to the class is showing up to get better. You are a team to an extent. You need your training partners, and you want to improve together with them. So you have to let the ego aside and not be bothered when you get tapped. Because again, like anything that you start doing new, something new, you're gonna be bad at it at the beginning. But the more you practice, the more you're gonna improve. And that's the beauty of life, is the process. Because in the process is you develop the qualities that are gonna serve you for life.
I also like what I like about jujitsu is the belt system and the different colors. They're like rites of passage for boys. And if my understanding is correct, they up until like is it 14 or 16 or something, you can't you can progress up to a certain color maybe, and then after that you can continue to progress until you're a black belt. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. They have they have a belt system, and belt system helps. It's a great thing, but you will find out if you start training that belts don't equate skills quite often. I mean, you have, let's say, a dad of 50-year-old dad who has been a black belt for quite some time, but he hasn't been training. He's not in good physical condition, and then you have, let's say, a blue or purple belt who has been training every single day, who has been competing, and then if they roll, the lower belt might get the better of the black belt, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's belts are important, but you can't get caught up into thinking that belts necessarily equate skills, right? So you gotta just focus on the process. That's how I see it. I don't really give too much thoughts on belts. To me, it's like a journey of my own discovery of just getting better. So as long as I show up, eventually, whatever the timing is, my professor is going to choose the timing. Then I'm going to get promoted.
Yeah. So, do you do jujitsu? Are there any other sports that you're doing personally, or any? Do you lift weights? Do you do CrossFit? What's your kind of physical regimen?
I do jujitsu. I do wrestling twice a week. I lift weights as well. Those are the three things that I do the most.
What kind of wrestling are you doing?
Like freestyle.
Freestyle wrestling? Do you compete or is this just at a gym somewhere?
Well, I competed in jujitsu when I was a white belt, but I haven't competed ever since. No.
Okay. And then you do weightlifting. Are you on a program that you set yourself or do you yourself work with a coach?
Yeah, I've worked with the coaches in the past, but now I'm training on my own. Pretty much what I do is I mimic the way I coach my clients. I train in specific phases. And in terms of my weightlifting goals, the goal is just for me to stay lean, improve my conditioning, and just getting stronger.
Okay, I like it. Now, I've been with kind of our my closing questions for you. Number one, if a guy right now wants to start bettering his life, becoming a better leader, getting healthier and more fit, um, in addition, maybe or not yet working with you in the Spartan Dad Project, if he's trying to do it his own, where should he start, or should he start with you if he's trying to better himself right now?
Well, if he wants to better himself, obviously, number one, if he has the mindset to work with a coach, is financially able to do that, is something that is really intriguing to him, I would suggest to work with a coach because the learning curve with a coach is quite small compared to trying to figure out things on your own. Obviously, working with coaches help a lot in terms of learning how to train, proper technique, learning how to eat, learning the right habits. So he will save himself a lot of time by working with a coach. Now, if he cannot work with a coach, let's say for financial reasons or whatever, then I will suggest to start training 3 days a week, whole body workouts, nothing crazy, all the compound lifts you can think about, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, farmer carries, barbell bent over rows, um, squats, etc. 5 by 5. Start doing that 3 times a week. Start walking 10, 15,000 steps every single day diligently, and start prioritizing foods that are high in protein, high in fiber, right? If you do those three things, you'll get decent amount of progress on your own, right? You don't have to necessarily work with a coach unless you can do it, right? I would always recommend working with a coach, but every person's situation is unique.
So I can think of good high protein foods off the top of my head. What are some high fiber foods that I should be looking at?
High fiber foods, quinoa, lentils, beans, chickpeas, oatmeal is a good option as well. A lot of green vegetables, spinach, broccoli, asparagus, cauliflower. So pretty much any diet that is rich in fruits and vegetables. If let's say you consume one serving of fruit or vegetable per meal, you're going to get enough fiber. Right? There is a rule that for every 1,000 calories you consume a day, you should be eating around 10, 15 grams of fiber. So let's say on average, men consume, let's say 2,000 calories, 2,500 calories. So they should be around 25, 30 grams of fiber you should be eating minimum because it's going to help you with your satiety levels. You're going to feel fuller. You're going to have less cravings. It's going to help you with protein digestion and absorption. And it's going to help you just with your gut health as well.
Awesome. Well, Ivan, I'm really grateful for the work that you do. I'm grateful for your work with my friends who kind of put me on to you and helped get this us connected. And so shout out to Eric and Justin and Dennis for their good work and for they're all pretty successful in your program. I've seen some of the pictures and posts that you've made about them, which is really cool for me to see. And really grateful, Ivan, for your work and your faith and the encouragement that you give to me and to the guys that you work with. So thanks so much for sharing with us today. Anything else you want to make mention of before we sign off?
I want to thank Eric, Dennis, and Justin, and Corey, and all the guys that who know you. They're amazing guys, and I'm honored to be able to coach them. They're the type of people that are perfect for this program because they're willing to listen, to execute, and we work as a team. It's more of a friendly relationship, so to speak, not so professional. It's about just getting things done, and I'm very, very grateful for them. And I just want to give an advice to everybody. Number one, really, really focus on your faith. If you're struggling in any area of your life, Jesus Christ can help you. Jesus Christ can set you free from any addiction, any kind of problem, any kind of depression, anything. And the next thing I would say, really, really start building discipline in every area of your life because it's a God-given quality, and your life will be transformed by doing so.
Amen. Amen. Well, Ivan, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it.